Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. All right. Oh, I know that was a nice little glitch. I knew that was a glitch. That was crazy. There's a little for y'all that's not familiar on the StreamYard, like right in the upper, well, I guess on the screen equivalent, it'll be like right there. Yeah, in the upper left-hand corner, there's like a little eyeball, and it has a counter. And there's a little counter right there, so you can see how many people was in the video, like how many people was watching the stream. And it blipped or glitched 200. Like it said 200. And then it went to 1. That's all right. One day we will have 200 people in our live stream. One day we will have 200 people in the live stream for quality information. Right? Today we about to have like a fake little celebration. A little lightweight something. Not even a real celebration. We're gonna do our normal ones and twos and our classwork. You know, we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna get back to the information. You know how we do. We're gonna get on our grind. But, you know, I do have a vintage bottle that I'm gonna pop. Right? A nice vintage a high quality vintage Martinelli's from the clearance rack. Yeah, a high quality Martinelli's right off the clearance rack. It just popped into my mind. I was like, man, that's 100 titles. That is 100 titles. It don't feel like it. It don't feel like it, but it's 100 titles. Yeah. The Ibris Papyrus Volume 2 makes 100 titles. 100 titles in 600 days. That's what we did. We did 100 books in 600 days. Hotep. Lauren, your package should have came today. Your package should have came today. I don't know what time your mailman come. But it says March 22nd on the receipt, so you should have got that. But yeah, when I was in the supermarket, I said, I believe this is on clearance for me. I said, you know what? Yeah, let me get me a little sparkling apple juice. I said, let me get me a little sparkling apple juice to celebrate 100 books. Yeah. 100 books in 608 days, to be exact. Yeah, 608 days, I believe it is. 609 days, maybe. It might be 609 days. I think it's 608 days, though. Yeah, my calculation might have been off. It might be 609 days. I might be off by a day. But yeah, we're going to pick up where we left off. I know some of y'all are like, hold on. You know, we love you, Doc, but the title of this video is just a little concerning. The title of this video is a little concerning. No, we have to address a philosophy of Dr. Sebi's, and a passage on congestive heart failure from the Ebers Papers. A passage, a symptom. I would even go as far as to say probably in the context it's written in the Ebers Papers, I would say pathophysiology, right? But yeah. So we got to address that. I'm just giving them a few minutes. Listen, we done partnered up with YouTube, but I don't know how that's reflecting our push notifications. So hit the subscribe, hit the like, right? If you already subscribed, then unsubscribe and resubscribe. If you already subscribed, unsubscribe and resubscribe, and click the notifications button. Maybe you've been subscribed, but you haven't clicked the notifications button. Click the notifications button, right? Hit the like button. Like let's do what we're supposed to do in 2025. Right? Let's do what we're supposed to do in 2025. I have my sparkling blush. I paid a whopping $2.42 for my apple juice, my carbonated apple juice, right? To celebrate 100 books. Yeah. We got the Children's Biochemistry series. We got the Melanin versus Diabetes series. We got the Race Hustler series. We got the Family Chemistry series. Then we have a couple of single books that's not a part of any series. And then we have the largest running series, which is the Comedic Science series, which is about 74 books strong. That's the largest series, 74 books strong. The other series are like, I think the Melanin versus Diabetes. I think the Race Hustler series is the smallest, 5 books. Family Chemistry is 6 books. The Children's Biochemistry is 6 books. And then the Melanin versus Diabetes series is 8 books. That's 8 books. Yeah. I see y'all in there. Yep, we could do a tutoring session, Dennis. Let's do a tutoring session. You know what I'm saying? We go in. Unless you're on the Patreon. If you're on the Patreon, we can just hit through the Patreon. All right. We're getting ready to get this show on the road. Okay, yeah. So we just go through the Patreon. Yeah, we just go through the Patreon. How should we start this convo? Let's start this convo. Let's start this convo like this. Woo. Okay. Bam. All right, so this is the 100th book. It's out today. Right, we've been talking about it, but here's where the subject matter is. Right, this is the subject, or at least where we're starting the conversation, so people know what I was talking about. Right, so people know what I was talking about. Right. So back in the days, this is the for the people that don't know, this is the back cover of the book. Right? This is volume 2 of the Ebers Papyrus. This is the back cover. Front cover, back cover. Right? And so back in the days, Dr. Sebi had a philosophy on AIDS. Right? Dr. Sebi had an AIDS philosophy. And his AIDS philosophy at the time, it sounded like gobbledygook. You know, at least to John Q. Public. To John Q. Public, it sounded crazy. It sounded, maybe for some people, it sounded like he was hating, you know, or he was anti-homophobic, maybe. You know, it came across as anything but scientific. His theory was, and his theory answered all of the questions at the time, right? I don't know how well it aged, you know. I know my perspective on how well it aged. I think it aged remarkably. I think he was, this is one of his genius moments, you know, but to each his own, right? I'll let everybody else judge it on their own merit, right? But his theory was anal sex, too much anal sex, right, was tearing the lining of people's rectum, anus, colon, you know, and depending on how people ate, depending on what people's diet was, their body wasn't able to handle the slow drip, or in some cases fast, you know, depending on how damaged the lining of, you know, your intestines are, all the way down to the anus, wasn't able to handle the dripping out of feces and blood, you know, feces into the blood, feces, bacteria, you name it, right? All of the microbes that are in the digestive tract, right? And so immediately you get a precipitous drop in antioxidant activity. Your immune cell is flagged, and the main problem is that your glutathione levels crashed. When the glutathione levels crashed, that started the cells to breaking down. And when the cells break down, the debris from the cells can cause a PCR exam or test to give you a false positive, right? So, like I said, at the time, people thought that was crazy, right? You fast forward, now you have a lot of people talking about, leaky gut. But that was the first, Dr. Sebi's theory was the first working theory of leaky gut, number one, period, by itself. There was no leaky gut discussions before that, because we're talking about the 70s and 80s. And then obviously, since he was the first person to discuss leaky gut, but then that would be also the first discussion of leaky gut causing autoimmune disease, right? Causing autoimmune disease. So, like I said, that, I'll let you judge it on its own merit. But the reason why I included it in the conversation, is because in the Ebers Papyrus, in the heart section, in the rubrics for the heart section, one of the causes of heart failure is feces in the blood. One of the causes of heart failure is feces in the blood. And so, over the years, that's been something that was challenged, like how could we have feces in the blood? And so, just having those conversations, those debates back and forth, I developed my own theory. Right? I developed my own theory that my theory sounds more playful than it really is, right? It sounds more playful than it really is, but it came from a lot of years of like doing one-on-one work with folks, one-on-ones, consultations, basically having an office set up in Black and Nobel, shout out to them, right? And so many people panic and think that stuff is complicated when a lot of times it's basic stuff. For a wide range of different things, people have relief from simple, making simple adjustments. And constipation is one of the most popular. The reason constipation is one of the most popular is because constipation is normalized. constipation is normalized. And so a lot of people don't know you got nerve problems from constipation. You have nerve problems, you have hormone problems from constipation. You can develop heart problems, and just a whole bunch of things can start with constipation. And we have normalized constipation, right? And so there are textbook definitions for constipation, and obviously in the book we're going to go through them. But I had to develop my own working definition for constipation because, there wasn't one that really simplified and made it plain for everybody, easy to understand. And I think I had a personal traumatic, I know I had a traumatic experience as a child with poop. And it stuck with me. So I'm not going to say I paid particular attention to it, but in the back of my, mind, I always, that's something I always addressed in terms of the study and the research, because when I was young, my mom's best friend, her name was Phyllis. We lived on the 4th floor, 4E. They lived at the other side of the hallway. I think it was 4J or 4N. No, not 4N. I think it was 4J. Yeah, I think it was 4J. They lived on the other side of the hallway. And they might still be there. But Phyllis, her daughter Tanisha, that was my friend. Right? But something was wrong with Phyllis. Phyllis was real sick. And we'd be down at their house, and sometimes we'd have to leave real fast, and I would hear Phyllis in pain, And I guess my mom, I don't know what she thought she was doing. Maybe she thought she was protecting me or simplifying, or maybe she thought I couldn't understand. But she was like, Phyllis has diarrhea. And so that was, that. Like, she had diarrhea, and so, like, there were situations like we'd be in the middle of a movie, or we might be watching some sports, or we might be cooking or doing whatever, having a little cookout or just anything. We might be having a moment, and the moment would be disrupted because, Phyllis is coming down with a bad case of diarrhea. After a couple of years, she dies, right? And my mom's never changed it. She just left it there like, yeah, Phyllis died from diarrhea. Like, so I ain't know no better. I just I was like, okay. So as I got older and got, more into my science bag, like, that was something I wanted to be able to cure. Like, yeah, I'm a cure. Yeah, we're going to stop that, diarrhea and diabetes. Like, we're going to come to find out, Miss Phyllis, she died from cancer, right? But yeah, so I have a wild collection of experiences and memories that that make me, right? Good, bad, ugly, some unbelievable. Some unbelievable. Yeah. Support, like, share the video on your Facebook, Instagram, everything. join the Patreon, hit the Cash App, go to Amazon, get the books, right? Go to Amazon, get the books. If you got some champagne in your house, if you got some wine in your house, or if you like me and you manage to find you some sparkling apple cider on the clearance rack for $2.42. Right? Going ahead and just pour you a little sippy sip. Then have you a little sippy sip of sparkling apple juice, or sparkling wine, or sparkling champagne, or sparkling something, or just get you a little cup of water and fake it. Get you a little cup of water and fake it, right? Get you a little cup of water and fake it, right? Just have you a little sip, right? Just a little sip for the 100 books mark, right? We hit 100 titles on Amazon, so we just having us a little fake sippy sip. Okay, look, we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna roll with it. We're gonna roll with it. Yeah, we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna roll with it. But yeah, so that was definitely something that over the years people thought, like, there's certain things that people wanted to discredit the Ebers Papyrus or the Chemetical. Ooh, that might be a bar. Even that was me just messing up. That might be a bar right there. The Chemetical. Yeah, I might have to put that in my mental Rolodex. That might pop up somewhere down the road. But the corpus of Kemetic medical literature, right? That was one of those things that people would pick out to discredit the whole entire corpus of Kemetic medical literature. So yeah, people like, how do you get feces in the blood? Well, Dr. Sebi laid it out, right? Dr. Sebi laid it out, and then 25 years later, you have a plethora of holistic practitioners, naturopaths, and biohackers that are all saying leaky gut, right? Well, that's what leaky gut is. It depends on what part of the gut specifically you're referring to, because at some parts you're getting large clumps of food into the bloodstream, and other parts you're getting poop into the bloodstream, right? And typically you have your lymphatic system and your glutathione to pretty much take care of everything on autopilot, so it never becomes a problem for you. But sometimes things do become a problem, right? It's one of the problems that people dealing with Crohn's, severe Crohn's, severe diverticulitis, things like that, hidden causes built into the framework of these conditions that drop people's immune system. So my theory, after studying all this stuff for years, and having Dr. Sebi's theory in the back of my mind, my theory that is still not proven or unproven. It's not proven or unproven. But my theory is that this is a gold mine for pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, and all entities that make money off of people having crashing immune systems. It is a gold mine. When you have a society where the women like to receive anal sex and the men like to receive anal sex, But everybody is constipated. Oh. For the immune system cartels, if you will, it's a gold mine. It's a gold mine. It is a gold mine. These are only facts. These are only facts. Because people that are constipated have stretched out intestines, colons. It's already jam-packed. And so this is why we had to create our own definition of constipation to make it simpler for people to understand. And that definition is you poop however many times you eat. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. You should be pooping just as many times as you eat. Because anything else, any other way you try to explain it, and it just, you're going to leave people out. You're going to leave people out. So if you say, 3 to 5 times a week, first of all, 3 to 5 times a week, which is for most people an average week of pooping, that means you're insanely constipated, because most people eat 3 to 5 times a day. If you eat 3 to 5 times a day, but you only poop 3 to 5 times a week, you're in trouble, right? But back in the 90s and the early 2000s, there wasn't much conversation around it. There wasn't much literature. Anything that had to do with poop regarding health was alternative or underground, that wasn't mainstream health discussion. That wasn't a mainstream health discussion, right? But it hasn't much hasn't changed, Companies like Metamucil, they're doing well. You got ballerina teas, they're doing well, but the health of the people overall is not. Then you have people say, no, you need to go, and they got a little attention. And so, listen, if I need to say pause, let me say pause. If I need to give y'all a disclaimer and say this conversation is a little, I'm trying to be as non-threatening with this conversation as possible, right? I got my hands in my pockets, you know what I'm saying? My hat turned backwards. I'm just like, But here's the thing. We have to have these conversations, right? If we don't have these conversations, that leads to an increase of, just all kinds of craziness. All kinds of craziness. I don't want to call out nobody, but even the comedian Earthquake, he did a comedy show and he was talking about, getting his prostate checked, and he like he enjoyed it, and it's just a lot. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. So from the comedian Earthquake all the way to my man Gorilla Hebrew, it's just a lot going on. So we have to have these conversations. Yo, nah, don't blame me. Yo, don't blame me, Jack. Listen, it's a judgment-free zone, though. It's a judgment-free zone, though. Hey, do your thing. Just have some water with it or something. find a way to write it off. Find a way to write it off. You know what I'm saying? Get a little extra, couple extra laps when you walk around the block later, something. But yeah, you know, listen, today was crazy in Michigan because, you know, we did our Michigan thing today. You know, and in Michigan, we all have the look. Like we all have the look. Like as it was getting warm outside, you know, you see your neighbor, you know, you give your neighbor a head nod, or you say what's up, or how you doing, or good morning. Depending on where you live at determines the greeting, right? You're in the neighborhood, you know, it might just be a little head nod, you know what I'm saying? But you might find yourself in the elevator or on the train, close quarters, you know, strike up a little friendly convo, or maybe you see a friendly face. You're like, man, it's nice out. You know, we're coming out of the Arctic blast up here. And everybody in Michigan know, don't get happy up here. Because you're going to get 50, 50, 60. It's going to touch that 65. And then you're going to turn right around. And as soon as you think you can go outside with no jacket on, it's going to be snowing. Today was that day, right? This week was that week, and today was that day. Yeah, we had a few. We touched that 40. The children was getting, you know, Dad, can I wear this to school? You know, I don't want to wear my coat. Okay, do your thing. Touched that 65. Chase lost his mind. I said, where you going with them on, boy? Oh, Dad, it's too hot for pants. I'm going to just wear these shorts. So, you know, we in Michigan. This morning, I woke up. For sure, it was snowing. For sure, it was snowing. Yeah, crazy. But no, if you have if your colon is backed up, there's so many different issues. There's so many different issues. I honestly don't even think we addressed them all in the book, right? But we touched on a good bit of them. If you don't know how the books are structured, we're kind of just going through common situations, common ailments, and then we're addressing the ailments and discussing the plants and the treatments and the healing modalities from a holistic perspective as we go through, right? So congestive heart failure is in the C's, right? We're going in alphabetical order, right? Constipation is in the C's with congestive heart failure, just in case. Because I know somebody going to be at home. Like, how do we get from congestive heart failure to, we in the C's, that we just in the same section, and some of the things just happen to overlap. Some of these things just happen to overlap. So we just, you know, yeah, we just in this pocket. We just in this pocket. Every so often we have to discuss poop. You know what I'm saying? We, you know, whether we discuss the color, the texture, is it floating? Is it sinking to the bottom? Every so often we got to discuss poop. Right? But seriously, when you put those two things together, and you know, that whole Hebrew Israelite situation, I was like, yeah, it might be time for us to have another one of these conversations, you know. But it's a sensitive thing, so, you know, I didn't really discuss the specific situation. But as we were moving through the Ebers Papyrus section on heart failure, right, when that passage came up, and that being one of the most, one of the craziest, most controversial, I guess, in the Ebers Papyrus, about feces in the blood and the feces causing the heart to fail. I was like, okay, well, you know, we probably need to address this, and just look at where we're at as a whole. Pun intended. Look at where we're at as a whole. It's not scripted, family. Yeah, yeah. But those two things together create a wow scenario. So if you're a parent, watch your babies, monitor your toilet tissue, right? Monitor your toilet tissue. It's a very good way to track your baby's, your children's health. At the older they get, the less they want you to be involved directly, but they still want you to be involved, right? So they still want you to be involved, even into their 20s. They want your help, right? But you give or take somewhere between like 8 and 12, they start feeling like they big enough. They too big for, whatever. So, but monitor how they go to the bathroom, figure out a way. Figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to ask. Better off discussing it with me than, we go down to the doctor and, you got something crazy going on. Right now, we're in the middle of a flu epidemic. I don't know if anybody is aware. I got a couple people asking me flu questions. We are definitely in the middle of a flu epidemic. There's some post-shot complications that's going on. So that's a conversation that's floating around out there. What else we got going on? We still have some remnants of the pandemic itself going on, right? So we have a few things going on, and we can start right in the digestive tract, right? A lot of times the conversation is probiotics. A lot of times probiotics and detox. Probiotics and detox are covers. That's a comfortable way. Those are comfortable ways for people to discuss their digestive health, for people to discuss their regularity, right? Yeah. People feel like they're not regular. I need to get me one of them detoxes. It's about that time. I need to get me a detox, right? That means, translation, I'm constipated, because people don't really know what a detox is supposed to do, right? If you're not an alcoholic or a drug addict, technically, we're probably using the term detox out of context anyway, right? But euphemistically, what we mean is we need a little help, we need a little help with our bowels moving. So there's that, right? And then the newer term that's gaining steam is probiotics. I need to get me some probiotics, right? So as you start to learn this information, you have to start learning what are the prompts, right? What are the prompts? What is the trigger that triggers someone to say, I need to get me some probiotics, right? I need to have me a detox. What is the trigger? What is the thing that they noticed that made them say, oh, I need to go get this, right? And then what are the other things that may go along with that they may not have noticed, right? I remember I had a big surge, like a big influx of people who privately wanted to talk to me about rectal prolapse. Rectal prolapse. And this was a few years ago. We did a video on rectal prolapse, and people was kind of trolling. People was kind of trolling. People was kind of trolling in the chat. But then, let me say this. You know how, and depending on where you grew up, you may not know about what I'm talking about. But some of y'all, if y'all grew up in the neighborhood, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You know them people that talk crazy about your Jordans. Jordan was the target back in the days. I'm 47. Back when I was in second and third grade, that was the target. Because if you had on some Jordans in elementary school or junior high school, like, that was crazy. Like, you had on Jordans back then, that was crazy. If you had on Adidas or Pumas, that was crazy. If you had Jordans, that was crazy. Converse, it was a few pair. And you always had like the tougher, poorer kids. The tougher kids really couldn't afford. So they'd make jokes about yours, right? They'd talk crazy about yours right up until circumstances in their life change. Maybe a year or two go by, maybe they making their own money, or maybe their parents figured something out or whatever. And then they come to school with a pair. Now they got to explain, like, oh, no. I didn't get these because these was Jordans, because, that's a waste of money. Jordan just was whack anyway, but these ones look different. Like these ones right here. Yeah, these look so different. I just had to get these because they was different. Like these were so different. I just had to get me. That's how they was trolling on the prolapse video. They was on the rectal prolapse video trolling, but I could tell they was curiously and uncomfortably trolling in the chat, because we was just going into uncharted territory, pun intended, that they just was uncomfortable with. But they couldn't turn off the video because they knew, some people know they need to be watching the video, right? You need to be tuned in. Oh, what? Let's go. Let's go for the super chats. Green is go. Water every 60 minutes. 60 and 60 reminder. But listen, the majority of the people that hit me up after the video to discuss the rectal prolapse situation was men. Straight men. Everybody came across that way. Some people overemphasized it, like, yo, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just, like, nah, I'm married. I got white, all unnecessary details. But I guess that's, the disclaimer before asking me, about the anus. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's cool. I'm used to it. It's a part of the health, like this is what it is. Right. But yeah, you can get rectal prolapse from sexual practices, but most people that have rectal prolapse is because they have weak core muscles, weak pelvic floor muscles, and they're constipated. And the combination of the two causes rectal prolapse. And what rectal prolapse is, basically, one day you're going to find yourself straining, and you're going to wipe yourself. And when you look at the tissue, it's going to be blood on the tissue. So Don't go crazy in the chat now. Say, oh yeah, that happened to me. That matter of fact, that happened to me this morning. But it's a very, very popular. It's a very, very popular thing, and people get scared when they see blood on the tissue. Right? They get panicked. Right? Typically, it's not that hard to deal with. Right? If you go to the cause of it is you strained, or because you were so dehydrated, right? Get that water, right? Water every 60 minutes. You strained, or because you were so dehydrated, or you're straining because you're constipated. And so some of your colon actually comes out through, some of your soft tissue that's supposed to be on the inside comes, it starts peeking through the outside. And so when you wipe with the tissue, breaks that flesh, and now it's bleeding, and it's bleeding. It looks like on the tissue it's bleeding a lot, but it's not. But your tissue on the inside of your body is actually more frail than toilet tissue. So toilet tissue is rough enough to just break it with ease if that tissue from the inside comes through your anus. And so you go to the hospital, they just push it back up there. They're just gonna push it in. If it comes out, they're just gonna push it back in. Right? Depending on how bad the situation is. If the situation is real crazy, they might try to get you into a surgery. But for the most part, people can heal themselves with water, a good variety of fiber, right? A good variety of fiber, some roughage, right? Roughage doesn't always include fiber, but mostly includes fiber, right? So I like to say them separately. Some roughage, basically like vegetables, some leafy greens, not overly cooked, right? So some of the undigestible cellulose can come on down the digestive tract and straighten you out. See, look, yeah. Listen. I'm telling you, we got to have these conversations, man. It's getting crazy out here. Especially when I see the brothers out here going crazy. I did as much work as I could with the anti-chakra activation movement. I don't know what to do. I just got to help folks now, I just got to try to help folks. I just got to try to help folks out. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, but. So hold on, let me open up this book. Cardiac arrhythmia. Carbocytis. Canker sores. Cancer. Okay. Probiotics will do you no good. Well, I ain't gonna say no good. But probiotics are gonna they're not gonna be as impactful as they could be if you are backed up. If you are backed up. So we have a nice little list, right? We have us a nice little list. A nice little list, right? So the first thing is water, right? The first thing is water and cutting caffeine. The first thing is water and cutting caffeine. Caffeine is a dehydrator. It's a diuretic. For every ounce of caffeine you consume, you're going to urinate out 1.5 ounces of water. So that means if you have a 16-ounce caffeine-based drink, you're probably going to urinate out 24 ounces of water. And some people are into caffeine. So every time they get thirsty, they go get a caffeinated beverage and they get stuck on that treadmill. They get stuck on that treadmill. They keep on drinking. They keep on drinking caffeine to quench their thirst, only to lose water. Right? They stuck on the treadmill, drinking caffeine to hydrate, losing twice as much as water as you took in. Right? And your body hydrates in your colon. Right? So a lot more action happens in your colon than you would like to think. A lot more action happens in your colon than you would like to think. Right? In fact, this is why people are doing, this is why people are selling like apple cider vinegar cleanses and vinegar, vinegar shots, apple cider vinegar cleanses. All of those ideas come from constipation. All of those ideas come from constipation. And I know you're like, oh, hold on, because now you know, I'm on some apple cider vinegar right now. I just stop drinking apple cider vinegar. Get your bowels together. Get your bowels together. Every healthy digestive system produces its own vinegar. Every healthy digestive system produces its own vinegar. So once you start drinking vinegar, you're either going to have too much acetate in your body, or you're going to cause a bacteria imbalance in your digestive system, right? So you want your body to make its own vinegar, right? So this is the first thing. First things first, if you're eating 2-3 times a day, or you're eating 3 times a day, and you only poop 1 time in the morning or 1 time before bed, just know it don't matter how healthy you're eating, something is not right. You're constipated. You need to figure that out, right? So you might need more water, right? Fiber and roughage, right? Fiber and roughage. That's the second thing to try. Increasing the fiber and the roughage, right? Increasing the fiber and the roughage. On a plant-based diet, rice is okay. Yeah. White rice, brown rice, right? It's cool. Yellow rice, whatever you're doing, it's all considered plant-based diet. But that's not going to really impact your fiber and your roughage, right? Pasta, perfectly considered plant-based, but that's not really going to hit that fiber, right? An easy way to get your fiber up is just add a bowl of oatmeal, or if you already have a bowl of oatmeal, eat 2 bowls of oatmeal, right? Some of y'all folks are missing organs, right? Some folks are missing organs, right? You done had you an organ or 2 removed, you might want to have you some prune juice. Prune juice helps some things out. Prune juice can, right? So fiber and roughage. Fiber and roughage, right? Now, if you're adding your water, you're cutting down on caffeine, you're getting your fiber up, and you're still not moving like you need to be moving, your bowel's not moving like it's because you might not be moving like you need to be moving, right? You might not be moving like you need to be moving. So we want to get you moving, right? You may not be taking enough steps every day, right? We need to get you walking, right? We need to get you walking, right? Right? Get your butt on out there. And as you start to get used to it and get your steps up, you'll notice you start to look like that. Then you'll start to look like that. And then you'll be out there like that with a little, a little pep in your step, with your music on, This usually will do it. This will usually do it, right? Get your water up, your fiber up, and you start to moving. Typically, you should be Gucci, right? Typically, you should be Gucci. If this don't make it, you want to add some gel in there. Now, all the way at the bottom of our list, we have a list of 9 things for you to try. It's almost an infallible list. I haven't met anybody that these things, if you follow these steps, didn't get them moving. But this is at the bottom of the list. This is the 9th one on the list. Right? Hopefully y'all can see that good. This is an S. Don't judge my handwriting, okay? It looked like a number 5, right? That's an S. This is senna, right? Senna is a herb, and people make a lot of money off this. This is a cash cow. Senna is a herbal cash cow. Senna has generated trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars. This is a certified fact. Senna has generated trillions of dollars. But has it Has it translated to trillions of dollars worth of health? No, it has not. Only to make people's bank accounts. People's bank accounts healthy. That is it. That is it. Senna is the primary ingredient in supermarket detox teas. The primary ingredient. So ballerina tea, that whole entire company, right? And they're not the only ones. They're just the one I could think of offhand usually because they're the most popular in the neighborhood, right? But they have made millions of dollars. You got a bunch of companies making millions and billions, which adds up totally globally to trillions of dollars off of Senna for people that are constipated, right? Because Senna is going to guarantee even the most stubborn bowels start to moving, right? And we'll get to the scientific part of what bowel movement actually is. Right? You don't really have bowels that start to moving, but we'll get to that. What this herb does is it turns your hydration system backwards. It turns your hydration system backwards. Now, in the lymphatic immunity book and the hydrochemistry book, we talk about how your body's hydration system works, right? Like from the time you drink water, how does that water going down, like how does that get to all of your tissues? How does it get to your brain, chest, stomach, feet? You know, because literally you have to clean your tissues daily, right? We're taught as children that you got to get in the bath and get in the shower every day and brush your teeth 2-3 times a day and blah, 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 blah. But we don't really get taught internal hygiene, right? We don't get really taught internal hygiene. Like, how do we clean the layers of our tissues? How do we clean our organs and glands, right? Most of us don't even know our layers of tissues, right? So you definitely don't know how to take care of them. You don't even know what they are, right? So that process of water moving through your body, Senna turns backwards. So instead of water going from the colon to the circulatory system, then to the fascia and lymphatic system and interstitial fluid and all of that, it goes in reverse. So the water from the circulatory system, from the tissues in your body, from the interstitial fluid gets pulled backwards into the colon so that you can force a bowel movement. So people that are having different levels of constipation, you know, they swear by these different brands. They're like, oh no, I get this and I go right away. You know, I go right away. Well, the problem is the number one reason that people are constipated is dehydration. The problem is dehydration. So the main reason that it's such a cash cow is not because it's so successful. It's such a cash cow because, yes, you looking for a bowel movement, you take the herb or you drink the tea, you get a bowel movement. So boom, you're totally satisfied right out the gate and it's immediate. It's like that same day or the next day, it's going to happen for you. Problem is, what you don't know is you're going to be twice as constipated as you was before you used the herb, because you're going to be twice as dehydrated as you were before you used the herb. And now this is going to be stuck in your mind, however you get it, whether you got it from an herbal guy or whether you got it from the supermarket or whether you was recommended this slim tea, right? Yeah, this is a slimming tea. This slim tea going to take the weight off you. No, just going to make you poop. It's going to make you poop, and it's going to make you shed water weight. So you think something's happening. Oh, I had this slimming tea. I lost 8 pounds in 3 days. No, that's boxer weight. That's just water. That's a boxer. That's what boxers do. They play with their water weight. That's just water. That's not muscle and fat. You didn't really, that's just water. But now you're going to be critically or chronically dehydrated. And that can become a thing. Like I know you see athletes, well, you don't really see athletes as much because athletes have the EMS people. The EMS people are at the stadiums. So you don't really get to see back into the locker rooms and all that, but the EMS people back there. So a lot of the players, they have people that come to them and put them on IV, football players, baseball, basketball players, or after they get showered up and do their thing, they have a little office, a private office they go to, or they have people that they trust that comes out to their house and puts them on IV. But a lot of professional athletes take IVs after games, right? Because chronic dehydration is quick and easy to slip into, right? So this is a cash cow because most people don't understand what's going on. And because they were promised the bowel movement, they took it. It was cheap. You get a box of these teas for $5. It's cheap. It's easy. Make your little tea. Boop. This becomes the go-to method to fix the constipation. What they don't realize is the gift is the curse. The gift is the curse. The constipation is self-propagating. Just like we talked about the bone and the tissues self-propagating, constipation is self-propagating, right? So they got the tea to fix this constipation, but now they twice as constipated because they drink the tea, right? So last resort. Senna is a last resort. And if you understand how Senna works, right, you can offset it now. Right? So am I telling you not to use it? Definitely I'm hinting that you should not use it. Right? But in some situations, hey, you might need to. But the idea is now knowing what the plant is and how the plant is actually working, is pulling the water from your body into the colon, right? Now, at least you have a cheat code, at least you know how to, right? After you do something like that, you want to take a nice bath. After you use this, you want to take a nice bath in Epsom salt, right? So you can try to hydrate the skin as much as possible, right? And then you want to drink you like a baby formula with mama tonics in it. Yeah, you want a baby formula with mama tonics in it, right? When I say a baby formula, they have the water like Pedialytes, those types of things. That's emergency go-to, not Gatorade or Powerade, right? Yeah, not those. Get the baby formula, right? That's the super cheat code if you got to go that far. Right? If you got to go that far, you're going to need like instant hydration. So you get you like one of them big, tall baby formulas, put some mama tonics in there, get you a nice warm bath, put a little Epsom salt in there. Now, we talked about the core four becoming the strict six already the other day, right? For people that just getting on to us, they might not be familiar with morning light. Morning light is when you hold a squat. You just simply, when you get out of bed, as soon as you wake up, whether it's the alarm that wakes you up or you wake up naturally, hold a squat. Try to hold you a squat. Try to hold you a squat as deep as you can go. Get you until your knees or your legs start, like trembling, but that ain't going to take long either. 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. If you can hold the squat, if you can hold a good squat for 60 seconds, you the GOAT, right? But that's first thing in the morning, right? That's first thing in the morning. That's going to help you. The 13 and 7 rule. The 13 and 7 rule, autophagy. When we first started the 40-day fruit fast, right? And I first wrote it out, right? When I first wrote it out, I wrote it out. When I first wrote it out, it was 8s. I had it broken down into 8s, 3 8s. It had your day broken down into 3 8s. Eating, digesting, excretion. Right? Eating, digesting, excretion, with this part of the day for reconstruction. Right? That's how I had it broken down when we initially did the very, very first blueprint for the 40-day fruit fast. Right? As I learned more about the process of how your body rebuilds your enzymes and hormones and just, builds up that pool of ATP and phosphocreatine and all of those things for you to get your day going. I learned more about the neurohormones and how the neurohormones are a part of not even a part of, facilitate basically your energy cycles, your appetite, your satiety, sleep, sex, etc. We got to modify this over the years, and that's where we came with the 13 and 7, right? That's where we came with the 13 and 7, right? So if you notice, there's loose hours. There's loose hours. There's 4 loose hours. Yeah, 4 loose hours. The reason being is, although we need to situate ourselves in alignment with the sun, a lot of us don't have that option, right? Even though, I had the information, the knowledge, whatever, however you call it, self-preservation, you had to do what you had to do. And I remember living in Atlanta, and I had a job from 12 o'clock at night, 12 midnight to 7 a.m. in the morning. And that was 7 days a week. 7 days a week. I worked midnight till 7 a.m. 7 days a week straight. No days off. In a warehouse doing security. Right? So, had to modify, I had to modify it as best as I could to my lifestyle. So realizing that we needed to make, we needed to create, create something that was more flexible that you could modify to your own personal lifestyle. So 7 hours, right? 7 hours, whatever your calories are for the day, right? You might be on 1,500 calories trying to slim down, or you might be on 5,000 calories a day playing outside linebacker. I don't know what that is. But get that in 7 hours. Whatever those calories is, get that in 7 hours, right? And if you fall somewhere on an extreme, you have 4 loose hours. You have 4 loose hours to make up, right? So some people, they have so many calories they need in a day, they may not be able to get it in 7 hours. All right, cool. Do what you can do in 7 hours. Have your 13 hours, and then have you a drink and catch up on your calories. All right, me and Chase was in the supermarket talking about bulking smoothies. I was like, bro, stop watching YouTube. He was like, no, Dad, I'm telling you, this guy was on YouTube and stop watching YouTube. Like, Dad, but you're on YouTube. I was like, touche. You got me there. Stop watching randos is what I really meant to say, right? But yeah, we be going back and forth sometimes. But yeah, so just to make it as flexible as possible, right? Because a part of autophagy is your microbiome being able to reset. Is your microbiome being able to have the secondary and tertiary and even quaternary digestive processes where you get those other products. Like we talked about congestive heart failure, we talked about calcification, right? We talked about the osteocalcin, the MGP, being able to neutralize the bone, the BMP, BMP2 specifically, which is the chemical that basically sequesters calcium to go into the soft tissues, right? It basically selects which tissues to calcify, but it's everywhere, right? So the perspective is the opposite. It's not that it's selecting specific tissues, it's that all tissues anywhere circulating is trying to deposit calcium. You have to have the MGP, which neutralizes or binds to those receptors so you don't have calcium deposits throughout your arteries and your soft tissues. One of the main ingredients for that is vitamin K. Vitamin K is one of the main ingredients, right? So when you talk about vitamin Ks and platelets and that whole family of binders, so to speak, right? It's not just you get cut, they bind, they clot, and they're also binding or helping to bind to chemical compounds to neutralize them in places where they're not supposed to be active. The thing is, most of your vitamin K is supposed to come from secondary, tertiary, quaternary metabolism, which is basically after you break down your food, right? After you break down your food, then the food that you can't digest, the bacteria can. See, that right there is that, to me, stuff like that are signatures of the netures. Those are signatures of God right there. That is infinite wisdom. That's infinite wisdom, that your natural food has parts of it that you can't digest. But you have organisms that live in your body that can't digest the part that you can digest, right? So they don't mess with your food. You don't mess with their food, but their food is inside your food, right? So when you eat the fibers and the roughage, right, you feed them. The problem is if you all poop, you know, if you full of, right? If you full of skit, there we go. That's how we do it. If you full of skit, then your bacteria won't be able to function. If you're full of skit, your bacteria won't be able to function, right? So using this timetable, right? Using this timetable and just applying it to your life, you know, figuring out your schedule, when you got to be up, when it's time to go to sleep, right? Chase was panicking this morning because he slept for 13 hours. Dad, I slept for 13 hours. Do I need to take some? Do I need some? Boy, be paranoid. Do I need something? No, you worked out. You know, he into his basketball thing. So, you know, some of his homies is playing in an AAU team. So now he going into some old training that he saw on YouTube. Anyway, he put himself through some crazy training yesterday. I said, no, you was just, you know, your body was worked. So sleep time is surgery time. That's surgery without a knife time. When you sleep, that's when your body gets to healing things up and making things stronger, right? So the exercise you do breaks the body down. It doesn't build the body up. Exercise breaks the body down. Sleep builds the body up, right? So getting into some extra hours of sleep, you know, hydrate, get you some, you know. So crucial, right? Crucial piece to the puzzle here. Listen, the title is wow, because listen, this is, I promise you, this is where we are as a people. We have constipated people that like, you know, they like that, you know, and I'm saying, I choose my words. I'm saying, listen, in a world where, right, in a world where professional sex, a porn star, right? Porn stars that do certain act, they prepare like athletes. They prepare like athletes. Like they make sure, you know, some of them even go as far as to have an enema if they're going to do that type of video. You know what I'm saying? To make sure they, you know, cleaned out. Like, so John Q. Public, on the other hand, our sexual habits are upside down and inside out. Right? We like to meet people in dark places like bacteria and fungus, right? Alcoholed up. And then every TV show, every movie that shows us sex, it never shows us a condom. Condom is not even put into, that's not even in sexual, you know, like Hollywood sex culture. They don't have a cool way to put that in. It messes with the, you know, the version of hot sex that's marketed to people. You know, we gotta take off my clothes while I take off your clothes, and we gotta knock a few things down. You know, like every show is the same. So you've seen the scene over and over. In that scenario, there's no time to go, hold up. Hold up. let me right? So everything is spontaneous on the spot, or at least, that's how it's portrayed to be. So, we have a silent killer amongst the people for our immune systems. We have a silent killer amongst the people for our immune systems. And, even if we're men and we do certain things with our ladies or whatever the case may be, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You have to, you have to make sure she's eating a certain type of way. You can't do that every day. You got to give a few days so she can heal up. Like you can't, and then the people that practice that because they're alternative sexual, genders or sexualities, they have a lot of health issues. They have a lot of health issues. So this, and then a lot of us strong brothers, certain things we don't want to talk about. But I'm telling you, it's half the men watching this video now have went to the bathroom, wiped themselves, and seen blood on the tissue and panicked. And panicked. And just prayed that it went away. And in most cases, maybe it goes away in a day or two, and they just go back to living their life. They don't know that that's a symptom of a greater issue that they're ignoring, right? So usually the blood on the toilet tissue comes before erectile dysfunction. But the fact that all these companies are making billions of dollars selling erection pills and erection herbs and erection supplements and lotions and all that, I know for a fact people ignoring the symptoms. This is why congestive heart failure is the number one reason people going into the hospital with heart problems. Congestive heart failure is the most popular heart issue people going into the hospital for. Congestive heart failure, right? It's not heart attacks. It's not cardiac arrest. It's congestive heart failure, right? And typically it's because you ignored all of the warning signs. And most times it's not your fault. You didn't know that those was warning signs, right? For women, when you wake up and your breast is not stiff and perky, or when you're having, going through your thing and you don't have an erection, right? You blame the guy. You don't know that you're not getting engorgement because you're supposed to have an erection, mini, little tiny one. You're supposed to have a little erection. That's a sign. Ladies, you could be developing heart issues, right? And you might go to the doctor and they may check you out and say, no, you straight. But see, the thing is, there's a whole bunch of criteria, right? And we're going to get into some, we're going to get in our bag. There's a whole bunch of criteria, right? And what happens is, you might be like, because doctors know what you want to hear, right? So you might be like, say for instance, the parameter. We just throwing something out there just to make an example. Say the parameter for health, right, is in between 20 and 30. If you're over 30, you got a problem. If you're under 20, you got a problem, right? You might be at a 21, or you might be at a 29, right? You might be at a 21 or 29, like you might be just right there, and the doctor be like, all right, now you good. But you not really good. You like right there. Now, depending on what else going on, right, that's going to determine how that 29, that your 29 might be somebody else's 25 or somebody else's 35, depending on whatever you got going on. So healthy or okay based on numbers. Like this is the debate that's going on in basketball right now, right? I always got to go to basketball. We didn't have much from the Bronx when I grew up in the Bronx, so don't judge me. We didn't have much in the Bronx, but basketball, we had basketball. So my mind is hardwired for rap references and basketball analogies. Like it just, my mind just works that way. So you gotta have patience with me, okay? But right now they're having a debate in the NBA, and I'm blessed that I was alive to see the whole evolution of how, pre stats. And when I say pre stats, if you don't know basketball, then you're like, what is he talking about? There's no professional sports that didn't have statistics. They didn't live by statistics and have all these different algorithms that they rated players by before, right? It was a lot more human driven, and you looked at the numbers and evaluated the numbers, and you decided as an owner or a GM, what you were looking for, talk to your coach. You got talent scouts. Now everything is pretty much driven by a computer, right? And the computer, it says this, that, and the other. And that's one of the big things that went on with Bronny. Right, look at it. Look at this guy. He can't help but bring up LeBron. Listen, this is one of the things that happened with Bronny. Bronny scored a little 17, he had a nice little 20-point game. And everybody's like, oh, man, we didn't know he was this good, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's forgetting because they're looking at the numbers. They're like, well, he only averaged 4 points in his college. Everybody forgot that Bronny was dead. Not dead like euphemic. Bronny was dead. Bronny flatlined. His heart stopped beating. And they got him to the hospital, resuscitated him, got him back together. Then they was like, oh man, he might never play basketball again. Woo, woo, woo. Then he came back slowly but surely. There's no statistics. There's no numbers. There's no numbers for that. Life is not, you can't really fit life into. So, you got Bronny, you got another guy, Jimmy Butler, what he brings to the table doesn't fit into the numbers exactly. Draymond Green, you got a bunch of players whose impact can't fit into the statistical lines, and so your health is that way. Because there's parameters to see how well each organ or gland is performing specific tasks, and this, certain values of blood fluids and minerals and, charge values and pHs and things like that. But because the body is a system, the numbers may not tell the whole story. Right? If they check your heart and your heart is just in the healthy range, but over here, you got some cholesterol issues, but the cholesterol is just in the healthy range. And then you got some sugar stuff going on, and your A1C number, it's not high. You might be at a 6.1, a 5.8, you might be right there. But when you add the just healthy heart with the just healthy blood and the just healthy cholesterol, you got a problem. You walking up the steps and you feeling like you getting ready to fall down. And the doctor's like, we don't know what the problem is. That's because you can't pinpoint the problem in the numbers, because the body is a whole system. And if you got a whole bunch of different systems that's just barely, you're going to have a crash somewhere. So, that's why we got to have these conversations, right? And unfortunately, we got to discuss poop every so often, because a lot of your body's system is built on top of your sewage system, right? And we happen to have, like, I forgot that saying. It's a saying where the worst possible thing will happen at the worst possible moment. That's kind of what we have going on as a society. We have a constipated, overweight society. At the same time, more and more people are getting interested in pegging. We just leave it there. That's the most user-friendly term we got. Pegging, right? And it's getting so crazy that you even have health teachers teaching men that they have a G spot located in their anus. You got comedians saying they enjoyed getting a prostate check. They should do it more often. So all of these different ideas, and every time I hear something crazy, it just takes me back to Dr. Sebi when he was talking about, hemolytic anemia, and we'll get into the hemolytic anemia thing. But then from there, my mind goes to the Ebers Papyrus, and the Ebers Papyrus lists feces in the blood as a #1 cause for congestive heart failure. And I'm like, yo, the fact that nobody talks about this stuff, nobody relates this stuff, people think it's a game, people think it's a joke. This is a gold mine, because you're going to have a problem and you're going to either not be able to figure out why you have that problem, or you're going to blame something else. Yeah, you're going to blame something else. You're going to blame the cigarettes. You're going to blame the beer. You're going to blame something. You're going to blame something else that's an obvious thing. But you're not going to think about it. It's starting with the root that you constipated, right? When you hear about how many neurons and nerves you have in the stomach or the gut brain, or you never think about, well, what does that mean if I'm constipated? What does that mean if I got 5-6 days or 2 weeks worth of poop backed up on top of my gut brain? Listen, I'm just saying. We gotta have these combos, right? I mean, we the handsome people, right? We the sexy people. If you're trying to eat better, you're trying to exercise. I mean, you're trying to get your shape together. Your skin gonna be glowing. It's springtime. If you ain't got nobody at home, you can be out there looking to. Just saying. You gotta figure this thing out. Right? So this is why we added our specific type of prayer and walking to the core 4, right? We want folks to go ahead and add some fiber in, right? A bag of carrots, a bag of apples, right? And when I say a bag or half a bag, you can do that as a 1-day thing, as a fast, right? You can do that as a fast. Make up your own fast, right? Make up your own fast. You know what, Doc? Yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to do. This Tuesday coming up, I'm just going to have apples the whole entire day. Yeah, I'm just going to have apples the whole day. I'm not eating nothing else but apples. Or I'm not eating nothing else that whole day but carrots, right? Carrots are good. Apples are good. You might say, oh, Dr. Sebi said don't eat carrot. Okay, well, eat apples then. Eat apples, right? Or eat you some leaves. Green leaves, like a panda. Go on a panda fast. Green leaves, just one whole day. Incorporate them in the mix with whatever else you got going on. right? So if you know, whatever you eating, you know, incorporate your stuff. Like, we got unspoken rules that sometimes you just need to break these rules, right? Like if you go into White Castles or Wendy's and that's your lifestyle right now, there's nothing stopping you from also having an apple in your pocket. You could go get you a number 5 and still have you an apple in your pocket. Like there's nothing stopping that from happening. I learned that. I learned that when I was growing up. My adopted Uncle Willie, we thought he was crazy. Years later, I find out that he was one of the primary influences in my life, right? When it comes to health. Uncle Willie, right? He used to have a moving truck business. So, you know, he'd let all of us derelicts from the neighborhood come work with him on the truck when we needed a few dollars for school clothes or pocket money or just to stay out of trouble. Anyway, he'd take us to like a pizza shop or McDonald's or a Chinese restaurant or wherever we want to go to get some food for lunch or dinner. You know, we working on a job or whatever. You know, food is on him. But he almost never ate with us. Almost never. And his kids used to be embarrassed of him. You know what I'm saying? They used to be embarrassed of him because he used to have beans in one pocket in aluminum foil and sweet potatoes in another pocket in aluminum foil. Now he taking us out, buying us food to eat, and then he pulling this crazy stuff out of his pocket, and we looking at him like, yo, you wildin'. Why you not eating what we eating? He's so like, you'll find out. You'll find out. Now, fast forward, he was bodybuilding into like his 70s. That's how good he took care of his body, right? He was bodybuilding into his 70s, right? From eating those things. And then days that he would pop up, because he would every so often pop up with a McDonald's breakfast and a coffee, he would still have his potato in his pocket, you know, or the beans, and just like put stuff together that looked like it didn't go together. Like, that don't go with McDonald's, buddy. He like, no, just go. Don't worry about what I'm doing. You eat what you eat. So I learned, do whatever you doing. Don't worry about what everybody else. Don't these taboos, and you do what you're supposed to be doing. Right? If you're going to get you or whatever, you can still have you a little, yeah. You can still have you a little apple, little bag of oatmeal or something, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Bust that thing out. You go to a restaurant, ask them if you go into a nice restaurant and they don't got XYZ, you bring that with you. Yeah. People carrying hot sauce in their purse. If people can carry hot sauce in their purse, you can carry you some fruit or some greens or some oatmeal. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. These are just, it's just, yeah, sometimes we just need to hear it being said. Somebody just need to say it in the room. Right? Okay. So these are the specific rubrics in the Ebers papers, 855E and 855G. I believe it's a couple other ones, but these are good for examples. These are good for examples, right? So the whole idea of leaky gut, holes in the intestinal lining, that goes all the way back to these papyri, right? That goes all the way back to these papyri. Do we want to talk about this? All right. Yeah. Because I know for some people that's looking like Chinese right there. So we need to learn some of these words sometime. Sometimes we just learn a new word, stuff start making sense, right? If you see that word ischemia, right? You might be like, yeah, I don't know. Doc, I don't know what. I want you to add that to your hypoxia bag, right? You should have a folder in your mind for Dr. EnQi words. Hypoxia, hypercapnia, right? Hypoxia, hypercapnia. Throw ischemia in there, right? Throw ischemia in there. And I want y'all to notice, my body language, my demeanor. We calm, we relax, we non-threatening, right? We just sliding up. We're just trying to approach the subject matter as innocently and non-threatening as possible, right? But ischemia is lack of blood flow, right? Ischemia is like oxygen, right? And sometimes they go together. Sometimes they go together because if the blood can't get to the tissues, then the tissues can't get oxygen either, right? If the blood can't get to the tissues, and what happens is I think it's fecal compaction. I think that's the term, fecal compaction. That's when you got so much poop, right? So here's the way your body is designed, right? Your body, everything has a space, right? So one of the problems with being obese, with being overweight, is that stuff starts to get leaned on, right? And stuff starts to get out of place and stuff starts to lean on other stuff. Yeah, the same thing can happen with poop. The same thing can happen with poop. Yeah. Once your bowels and colon and intestines and all that is getting hyper stretched out because you got it all packed up with poop, there's a few things that happen, right? So one of them is that one of the things that can happen is veins get cut off. Veins are getting pressed. Capillaries are easy to get cut off, right? But veins, arteries, I said veins. What I meant to say was arteries. But even veins is the same thing. Veins affect the blood going back to the heart, which gets super crazy very quickly, right? But you got another phenomenon that goes on too. Let me show you this. Right? Because this is kind of how, now I'm making these crevices over super big, which is not how it is inside your colon, but I just want to do it for so you can see, right? This is how your colon is. It's not an exact perfect tube. It's not an exact perfect tube. It has crevices along the walls. So what happens is when you poop, right? When you eating and food goes in here and you keep it moving and you have good bacteria and you have a good amount of water and you have air moving through here and you're going regularly, these crevices don't get jam-packed with the wrong type of bacteria. But when you get constipated, right, these areas get loaded up with poop. They get filled up with poop. And guess what? That poop hardens and kind of rots in these crevices and cracks because you got only a thin, small amount of movement in the middle right here. You only got a little movement. The walls of your intestines, colon, rectum, and all that has dried up poop on it. And so does these places. And inside these places, you get a whole bunch of biofilms. You get a whole bunch of biofilms. And a biofilm is basically like a city that bacteria make for themselves. They make little cities, like domed off cities for themselves to live in. And because you don't have populations of bacteria mixing up, it's like commerce, capitalism. Like you need competing companies with the same product to drive the price down for the consumer, right? We need 20 different companies selling, burgers so that burgers are priced low, right? If one company sells burgers and they're the only ones with burgers and everybody wants burgers, they could just charge you $1,000 for a burger, and hey, either you not eating burgers or you paying $1,000 for it. But if you got competition, he put his at 1,000, I'm putting mine at 990. Somebody else, we got those for 950. Before you know it, burgers that went from 1,000 to 100 to what you see Checkers doing right now. Checkers is always the cheapest, right? Checkers be having a quadruple. If you never heard of Checkers, I'm sure your neighborhood got. I don't know what you got on the West Coast, but on the East Coast and the South, you got Checkers. Checkers will give you 5. They put like half a cow on a sandwich for $2.99. So that's the lowest quality. That's heart attack. That's a heart attack sandwich. But you listen, you get the idea, right? The same thing goes on inside your digestive system, right? You need different families and strains of bacteria competing for food, competing for space to keep everything balanced. Remember, it always comes back to ma'at. So if you got a bunch of different bacteria and all that competing for space, competing for food, competing for water, you have balance. Because they kills each other. They fight. It's on. You know what I'm saying? So they will balance each other. When you have this type of situation going on, it's no balance. You got whoever got in there first, they allowed to monopolize the space. Then they create biofilms, which like walls them off. So now nobody can really get to them. Not even your white blood cells or your herbs or whatever the case may be. So then you got people came up with a business. Oh, we can stick a hose. Yeah, we can stick a hose right up there. Yep, we can put some detergents. we can get some detergents mixed up, stick a hose on the end of that thing. We can power hose that thing on down. So you have people that's into that, right? But getting those type of like enemas and all that stuff is cool, but that's almost like the center, right? You put yourself on a bad treadmill because instead of your body being self-regulating, you still have those same issues. So if you want to go, like I said, with the center, worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, you want to go get you a colonic, an enema, you want somebody to plug you, plug it in. If you need somebody to plug it in, and hose that thing on down and get you a reset. Get you hosed on down, get you a reset. But just remember the idea so that way when you start from scratch, you don't have the same, you don't start immediately the next day. You done ate 3 meals, pooped one time, and then you went into the next day. The next day you had 3 meals, or you maybe you missed a meal. You only had 2 meals, but you didn't poop at all. The third day, you had 5 meals. You ate 5 times, you pooped twice. 5 days go by, you behind 13, 14 poop. You back, you going back to the. And so you don't want to wind up being one of them people that got, like you enemas every 2-3 months, or you having, like that's not the program. Your body's not designed for that. It's a cool Band-Aid if you need it, right? But that's not the program. Listen, depending on where we at in life, Checkers, Little Caesars, right? Checkers and Little Caesars, they have a demographic of the population they trying to get, right? You want to have a certain taste and look to the food, but you want to pay, just got to remember, sometimes you're trading off something. Sometimes you're trading off something. You know what I'm saying? So what book is oh, it's on my bed right now. I don't feel like going to get it. The Kitchen Chemistry book, the Orthorexia book, right? If you don't have the Kitchen Chemistry book, if you don't have the Orthorexia book, if you don't have the Autodidact book, go get those books, put it in your cart, check out, right? Because in those books, we talk about micro lives, right? So you don't want to be trading hours off of your life, minutes off of your life, days off your life, weeks off your life, unnecessarily. Now, we got one life to live, so we need to enjoy it however we enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? But we just want to be strategic about the trade-offs we're making, right? We want to be strategic. Laxatives, purgatives, apparents. Oh, yeah. Woo! Now, listen. Some of y'all may know those by the name of stool softeners. Some of y'all may know those by the name of stool softeners. I'm just saying. Some of y'all have had issues. Some of y'all have had issues before y'all got into the world. Some of y'all had issues before y'all even got into the world. If your mom had you, I had to drink down my moss before I could open up the, the celebratory bottle. For y'all just tuning in, I got me a luxurious bottle to pop to celebrate our 100th book on Amazon, right? 100 books we got on Amazon. I just had to get me a little celebratory, sparkling apple juice. I seen it on the clearance when I was in the store. I said, "Ooh, let me get that. Let me grab that little." I told y'all, we balling on the budget. We serious with that thing. We serious with that thing. Yeah. So you might have tuned in late, right? You might have tuned in late, but go ahead and Have you a little sip of some champagne, some wine, some apple juice, or, if nothing else, ginger beer, right? Somebody got a actual beer, right? But if nothing else, just have you a sip of water and fake like you had something special in the cup. Little toast to the team, a little toast to the toast to the 100 books, right? Yeah, toast to the 100 books, right? But a lot of people are unfortunately familiar with stool softeners. If your mom had you with C-section, all your life, you're going to have a higher proclivity to digestive issues, right? Because, allergies, all kinds of stuff. Everything that's attached to the microbiome, you have the potential to have more challenges than everybody else, right? If you were bottle fed and not breastfed, same thing. Same thing. If you're bottle fed and not breastfed, same issue, right? So when mom's having a baby the natural way, and you slide down the vaginal canal, all her bacteria coat your body. Coat your body. Give you that one last coat before you leave out of there. Zoop. Get one last coat before you get on up out of there, right? And that's going to start your first populations of bacteria on your skin, right? So our microbiome, and then the yeast and fungus live within the bacteria, and so do the virus. So it's not just bacteria, but our microbiome and virome, etc., and fungiome and all that kind of stuff. Our first coating comes from mom's vaginal canal, right? After that, right, we go on the breast. And the breast not only give us the protein, the fat, the nutrients, etc., but it also, we're coating the inside now, our digestive tract, with mom's bacteria. So some of us were born naturally, but then we went on, canned food. Some of us were C-section, but at least we had breast milk. And then some of us, unfortunately, we are C-section babies that had, powder milk, right? So from the jump, our bacteria, our immune system compromised right out the gate. So you have, again, these are things that don't wind up in the statistics. These are not in the box score. You don't even know this. You don't know this. The doctor, the hospital don't check for it. They're not getting ready to see if you go in the hospital as a grown man in your 20s or 30s, if you was a C-section, or, hey, do you remember if your mom breastfed you or not? Like, that's not even going to be a part of the conversation, right? But you may be living with lasting results from there, right? That may be the difference between you growing up with asthma and somebody else not, right? All of these little things. All of these little things, right? So as a baby, you was crying a lot. A lot of times, the babies that are getting bottle milk are the ones that need stool softener. Yeah, a lot of y'all, you was already getting your chakras activated. God forgive me. But, some of us as babies, we needed help in a variety of different ways with poop as a baby. You know, your parents, you know, sometimes that, you know, it got backed up in there and it couldn't come out. And the reason being is because you were supposed to be on breast milk, right? You're supposed to be on breast milk until you can get puree. And puree is supposed to be fiber. You're supposed to go from the breast to the fiber. A lot of us, unfortunately, this ain't a white thing, this ain't a black thing, this ain't a hood thing, this ain't a you know, a rich, wealthy thing. This is just new society. A lot of us are going from canned milk to French fries and chicken sticks, chicken fingers. Yeah, yeah. More babies are going from canned milk to you know, to cookies, or from canned milk to chicken fingers and French fries than, you know. So we're it's these things. These things are not isolated. They don't just happen, then we become adults, and then those things don't travel with us, right? Though all these things are related. All these things are related. All these things have an impact, right? Which is why our detox, the way it's designed, you're supposed to do it every month. It should last you roughly about 3 weeks, right? So you got 3 weeks, and then you need another one. 3 weeks, another week to let your body go without, right? Don't stay continuous. 3 weeks, and take a week to let your body just go without the detox kit, and then, right? So every month is a monthly detox kit, right? To keep your NRF2 system primed, right? This is less about poop, more about your cell's ability to defend itself, right? Yeah, it's listen. This is the one thing, you know, it's funny. We gotta laugh at ourselves and laugh at the subject matter to make it like, you know, to make it so that we can approach it, you know, kind of try to have fun with it. But this is like a martial art. So like when you in martial arts, right? In martial arts, they train you to attack parts of people's bodies that muscle and bone don't protect, right? So, you know, the throat area here, muscle and bone don't protect this. So even if you're a small person and a really big person is on you, if you can chop them in the throat real quick, right? Or if you can get to their private, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, if you can somehow get to their eye or to one of these places, the humans have built-in fragility, right? And constipation is one of them. It don't matter if the person is like a 400-pound bodybuilder or a 60-pound old lady or a 7-year-old child. Like it, when you gotta go and that thing is not coming out, and it's you in the bathroom, and everybody is scary. It's scary. And as a parent, oh my God, I ain't even gonna say who did it, but one of the scariest things in the world as a parent is for your child to swallow a toy or eat a quarter or swallow a marble or a little piece of a doll or a toy. Oh my God. Because when you call a doctor, they're not going to really do much. Depending on the age of the child and the size of the thing they swallow, they might just say, listen, if you see some blood or some choking or whatever, rush them into us. But other than that, you know, it should pass normally in they poop. So you gotta literally, every time they poop, you gotta break up the poop to see if it comes. Listen, I already told y'all, if you have more than 2 children, if you have 3 or more children under the age of 10 at the same time, you are effectively running a small emergency room in your house. It just is what it is. I don't know how, I guess that's why we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate y'all for the support. Cash App, people who get the products, the books, everything. Now we got super chats inside the chat room, right? But this information, it's just like, it's getting lost in the sauce. We're talking about Big U and the Rolling 60s. They got arrested. We're talking about Stephen A. Smith and LeBron getting, looking like they might get into a scuffle. We got, Elon. Oh my God, Elon. They losing, the stock prices dropping with Elon. But, just the main, the thing that everybody's secretly dealing with is somehow not a discussion. Like, it's just, we just don't talk about these things. So it's a scary thing for everybody dealing with poop, and then you add to it that this is another crazy statistic. Even though it's not related, it kind of is related. The amount of muscles you use to get off of the toilet after you poop determines how soon you're going to die. They've done some studies on this. This is a real thing. So you are very close to death if you need to get help when you're getting off the toilet. Like, you should be able to get off the toilet without using anything to help you out. And basically, that's a squat exercise. So if you're waking up every morning and you hold that squat for 10, 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, hey, that'll keep you, a squat a day to keep the angel of death away. I don't know, we got to make up something for it, but trust me, you're not the only one. Listen, you're not the only one, trust me. As folks get in there in that bathroom, they scared. They get scared. Especially you hit that toilet tissue and you see that bright red blood on there. Ooh! Ah! That's scary. That's scary. Period. And nobody wants to admit that they got that going on. And the crazy thing is, the worst part is not the blood. It's the fact that if wiping your butt made you bleed, you probably have rectal prolapse, and part of your inside is hanging out through the outside. Ah! Let me show you what I mean so some of y'all understand what I'm saying. Okay, say this is your anus. This right here is going to be your insides. When you have the bleeding, some of your insides, this is rectal prolapse. Some of your insides is coming out of that hole. And so when you go to wipe, what you feeling is not poop. That's actually flesh. And so when you wipe that with that rough tissue, you break that tissue. You don't break the tissue, the paper tissue. You break in your inside, your mucous membrane tissue. That's where the blood comes from. Now, the problem is you're going to have poop slowly dripping into your blood. Yeah, because now you done broke the tissue inside you. Yeah, it get crazy. It get crazy. I'm just saying. I don't think a bowl of oatmeal is that difficult. I'm just saying. Listen, I'm not even selling something for that. I'm just saying, get you a bowl of oatmeal. Right? All right, so we talk about fibers. Right? We talk about fiber. talk about fiber. Okay, this is good. We need to talk about this guy. We need to talk about this guy, the new kid on the block. We need to talk about this guy, the new kid on the block. And we talk about this in a couple of the books, but it's always good to bring it back because it's relatively new. It's relatively new. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid fiber. And it was previously classified as a fiber. And now they realize it's not a fiber. So the new name is resistant starch. Now, I know some of y'all from the old school health universe where you was taught to avoid starches like the plague, right? You was told to avoid starches, like that's a part of the program. Cut out the white bread, white rice, starch, like you did. This is one of the main things that you have to have in your diet to have a healthy microbiome. It's called resistant starch. Resistant starches are basically very, very complex carbohydrates. Now, when you classify carbohydrates, they classify them based on how fast they turn into sugar. How fast your body could break it down into sugar. So a simple carb turns into sugar quick. A complex carb, it takes a while to break down. Resistant starch is the most complex of all carbohydrates. They don't break down at all till they get almost to the end of the road. till they get almost to the end of the road, right? And these are the guys that make your vinegar. These are the guys that make your vinegar, right? These are the guys that make your vinegar. And remember, right, vinegar is not a real thing. Right? Remember, vinegar is fake. Vinegar is a commercial term, right? Vinegar is not a real thing. Remember, vinegar is just water and acetate. That's what vinegar is. Vinegar is water and acetate, right? So you already have populations of bacteria that live inside your gut, your colon, your intestine, that turns these resistant starches, the carbohydrates that don't get digested and broke down by your body or any of the earlier bacteria, when they get all the way to the end of the road, last stop on the train, they break these down into acetate. They break this down into acetate, and your body mixes the acetate with water. Your body put that cut on it. Yeah, your body know how to put that cut on it, right? And your body produces its own vinegar, right? Not just vinegar, but ketones like butyrate, all of those different things your body can produce on its own. You don't really need weird diets or, certain, stuff from boxes and all types of weird, like you don't need the fibers and the fake stuff. If you're on the plants, now mind you, herbs are wild plants. Herbs are wild plants, right? Just like salad, but it's not farmer grown, right? So these are the things that your bacteria need to produce those secondary, tertiary, and quaternary, vitamin K's and vitamin B's and, I don't know what we would call ours. It's not apple cider vinegar. Yeah, but resistant starches, right? Resistant starches. We back. We back. Okay, we're not fully back. We are still a little clunky. We're still a little clunky. Let me make sure the microphone is on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we could. So, what I was saying? Oh, resistant starches. Right? Resistant starches. Right? Pay attention right here. Look. Some types of resistant starch are fermented by the large intestinal microbiota, conferring benefits to human health through the production of short-chain fatty acids, increased bacterial mass, and promotion of butyrate-producing bacteria. Right? Those short-chain fatty acids, that's where the vinegar comes in. That's where the vinegar comes in. Turn the mic up a little bit. All right, there you go. There you go. Now they have articles in the journals. Articles in the journals going past the fact of constipation, measuring transit time. Right? Measuring transit time. Now, if you're not familiar with transit time, that's a part of the vegan versus the meat eater beef debate conversation, right? Is our body designed to eat meat, or is our body designed to eat plants, right? And then you hear, well, carnivores have a very short digestive system. So their transit time is very quick. If you have a dog, you know the transit time is super quick, right? You feed your dog, you walk your dog a half hour, hour later. What you fed your dog is now on the concrete. Very short transit time. Plant eaters, herbivores, have a much longer digestive system, so the transit time takes a lot longer, right? Because it takes a lot longer to get all the nutrients out of plants. That's just the simple design. That's just the simple beauty of and efficiency of the design, right? A carnivore is getting ready-made nutrients. A carnivore is getting ready-made nutrients. Whatever animal the carnivore is eating has already eaten the food. So the nutrients are in the animal's stomach and in the animal's blood, right? In the animal's organs, the liver, whatever the case may be. So the nutrients are already broke down in their simplest form. So it doesn't take a lot of transit time for a carnivore to extract those nutrients from, dead animals. But plants, nutrients are locked up in plants. And you have to employ a bunch of different types of measures to get all the nutrients out of plants. This is another reason why constipation is a problem, because every part of your digestive system is breaking stuff down. We're just learning this right now. Let me rephrase that. Modern science is just accepting this. Let's not say we're just learning it, because we have Kemetic documentation 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago that they understood. They understood this. This is why fermentation was created there as a therapeutic means of producing food to complement the therapeutic aspect of our digestive system, which is primarily your bacteria, right? Your bacteria creates nutrients, it creates medicines, it creates therapeutic agents that your body can't create on its own. It's not just the mitochondria. Think about mitochondria was once a loose bacteria. So mitochondria can be considered a part of the microbiome. Now they're seen more as an organelle and a part of the cell, but if you go back to single cell organisms, mitochondria is a separate entity doing its own thing, that you can use that as a way to look at the rest of the microbiome, because these are all other bacteria that produce things that our body can use. Some things that our bodies can't live without. And we just haven't really mapped out all of the different types of bacteria in our bodies and what they individually produce. Now, as we're understanding more, we're understanding digestion happens in more than just your stomach, right? Now, if you want to really get into that argument, plants versus, hey, we only produce enzymes in our mouth to break down plants. Just saying, right? But no, we can break down meat, we can break down plants, Our bodies are made to survive. Right? We're built for tough. So we're made to really be able to get what we need. We're made to live. We're made to survive and then thrive, right? So, there's, we've heard all the arguments, right? But the science, right? We leave our emotions and opinions, our baseless opinions at the door when we come into the Djed school, right? Science tells us that digestion is happening from the mouth to the anus. From the time that you put something in your mouth, digestion has begun. And until that thing leaves your body, digestion is still going. Period. And if you have parts of your digestive system that's inactive, that means you're going to have parts of your nutrition that you won't be able to get because it's from these segments, right? Like think about your pancreas is your pancreas is a part of your digestive system, right? Only 2%, 3%, maybe 4% of your pancreas produces insulin. The rest of it is to digest food. So largely your pancreas is a digestive organ. Yeah. Your pancreas is there to alkalize stuff, right? So all of the parts of our digestive system is to make nutrients that the body can use. We got to think of it that way. Let's see what else we got over here. Fermentation, vinegar. Yeah. We kind of went over that a little bit, right? A dilute solution of acetic acid in water. Acetic acid is produced by the oxidation of ethanol by acetic acid bacteria. And in most countries, commercial production involves a double fermentation where the ethanol is produced by the fermentation of sugars by yeast. You see what I'm saying about bacteria? You have your own. We have to use them properly. This is all a part of your poop machine. Rectal bleeding is a symptom of many different conditions, including hemorrhoids, anal fissures, inflammatory bowel disease, and colorectal cancer. You may notice rectal bleeding on your toilet paper when you wipe or when you see blood in your stool. It's important to contact a healthcare provider about rectal bleeding. Not all causes are serious, but some of them are. Rectal bleeding, you see blood in that toilet, it could be a sign you got colon cancer, right? And we talking about people, we talking about pegging. Remember when we had our conversation about colon cancer, we have a book. Go get the Dr. EnQi colon cancer book, right? If you don't have the colon cancer book, you know what I'm getting ready to say. Go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out, right? We had to do that. We had to do that book after Superman, Rest in Greatness, Clark Kent, right? The DJ. If you thinking Christopher Reeves, then you missed the mark. It's okay. We have people watching from all over the world. They might, we say Superman, they might be thinking Christopher Reeves and up and away. That's not, no. The DJ that discovered Jay-Z and some of the artists that you may love, his name is DJ Clark Kent. And like Black Panther, he died from colon cancer. And at the time, You know, obviously it's a sensitive subject, and even now it's a sensitive subject. Nobody want to deal with it. But again, anal penetration is one of the largest causes of colon cancer. Anal penetration is one of the largest causes of colon cancer, especially for men. It's especially for men. So, like we have to deal we have to deal with this, right? And if we don't discuss it, who discusses it? So I don't have, the book is not about, that's not what the whole book is about. I'm just saying this is one of the, let me just go. Let me just go. Yeah, I'll be trolling. Listen. Now, Dr. Sebi's theory, right? Dr. Sebi's theory. Here's one of the things, here's one of my pet peeves when I hear people and they try to repeat. That's what I'm saying. You gotta do your research, man. It's one thing to make, mistakes because you messed up on something or whatever, but you need to be doing your research. If you're just trying to regurgitate some stuff and you ain't reading, putting no time, you're doing people more of a disservice than anything else. And a lot of us, because we just wasn't studied on the subject, right? Dr. Sebi used to talk about anemia all the time. And I'm not even sure how much he knew about the subject. I'm not even sure how much he knew about the subject. Even though he was all wise, right, and exact with what he was saying, I just don't know if he understood at the time, or even if the classifications existed back then. Because it may be true that he may have been such an early pioneer to the subject matter. The classifications may not have existed. But hemolytic anemia is not the same as my feet are cold, so I need some iron. This is not that. It's the super chat. No, ain't no super chat. We ain't getting no super chats today. Right? No, we got one. We got one. We did get a super chat today. We did get a super chat today. Yeah, we got a super chat. You said you can't see us, do we? Somebody should be able to see me. What I'm doing right now? I'm doing the electric boogie. Skynet is on us. So no, this is what we was on. Anemia, right? So here's what happens. When you start getting feces and bacteria leaking into the bloodstream, the glutathione level drops. Glutathione is very important to the integrity of your blood, right? More specifically, to the matrix of your blood cells. So your hemoglobin units literally like disintegrate. Literally, they like disintegrate under the pressure of performing their job without the glutathione there. Just think of it that way, right? Think of something disintegrating, right? And so think of the nature of a PCR test, right? The PCR test looks for fragments, and if they find some fragments of some genetic material, that can create a false positive, right? So hemolytic anemia can cause insane levels of panic because you can mess around and get a false positive for some type of virus and think something else is going on, and it's not. It's hemolytic anemia. Hemolytic, right? Lytic is the breaking down. Hemo is blood, right? So hemo breakdown anemia, right? Your blood cells are breaking down faster than your body can produce them, right? Typically, the life cycle of your blood is 120 days. That 120 popping back up, right? 120, 90 days to 120 days, preferably 120 days. 90 days is getting short. 60 days is insane, right? So the turnaround time on your blood cells, how long they last, that's hemolytic anemia. Glutathione is one of the main antioxidant substances that keeps your blood cells together while they're doing what they do. Feces in the bloodstream, glutathione through the floor, your red blood cells start breaking down, and then that causes a plethora of other problems, right? Because now your body is feeling low energy. So once you're low energy, your immune system starts to crash. Every system in your body requires energy. So once you go low energy, stuff start crashing, right? Your tissues get hypoxic. They're not getting enough nutrients. They're not getting enough oxygen. So all the other systems, like everything starts crashing, right? Everything starts crashing. So, yeah, hemolytic anemia. Let me see if I can look that up on the, what you call it. Let's see if we can get us a Google. Let's see if we can get us a Google real quick one time for the one time. Right? right, yep, that's our 100th book on Amazon. All right, hold on, let me get us a Google though. Hemolytic anemia. Boop. Hemolytic anemia occurs when you have a low number of red blood cells due to too much hemolysis. Hemolysis is just red blood cell breaking down. Certain conditions can cause hemolysis to happen too fast or too often, including autoimmune conditions, bone marrow failure, complications from blood transfusions, right? Now let's add another word to the search. Let's add another word to the search and see what happens. Let's add glutathione. Look at that. Look at that right there. Malglutathione synthase or synthetase deficiency usually results in the destruction of red blood cells. Grand opening, grand closing. Glutathione synthetase is it is what it says. Glutathione synthetase. So that's the enzyme that synthesizes glutathione. Glutathione synthesis goes down, red blood cells break down. Right? Now, glutathione levels going down can be caused by different things. Obviously, if you're running short on the enzymes that make or recycle glutathione, sure. But glutathione gets used on the things that it's neutralizing. So if out of nowhere you just get a flood of toxins or chemicals or whatever it is, right, into your bloodstream, that can cause your glutathione levels to tank on its own because they're being used so fast, right? Much faster than your body can recycle it, right? Which is going to impact your blood the same way regardless, because it doesn't matter what the reason is that your glutathione levels are dropping, your blood cells are just going to start dropping, right? Once the blood cells drop, then it's going to get crazy. Yeah. That was Dr. Sebi's theory. Absolutely. That was Dr. Sebi's theory. And he was out there, you know. That was a very powerful working theory because it led to a lot of success. Right? So we go through the main four aspects, right? The main four aspects. And of course, we have some journals to back up some of the more complex questions or to answer some of the more complex questions, right? Constipation induced pressure effects as triggers for cardiovascular events. Constipation is associated with cardiovascular events. Changes to the intestinal microbiota by constipation can induce atherosclerosis, blood pressure rise, and cardiovascular events. Constipation increases with age and often coexists with cardiovascular risk factors. In addition, strain at stool causes blood pressure rise, which can trigger cardiovascular events, such as congestive heart failure, arrhythmia, acute coronary disease, and aortic dissection. However, because cardiovascular medical research often focuses on more dramatic interventions, the risk from constipation can be overlooked. This is literally the main thing that I'm saying. That's why we have to have these conversations, because we have to have these conversations, because if we don't, right, nobody's telling us about this. Now, let me go. Oh, wait a minute. Is we right here? Are we right here? I want to go back to congestive heart failure. So all of this is in the new book. The congestive heart, the hearts, all of this stuff, cancer, all these ideas we're talking about from the last few days are in these Ebers Papyrus books. Okay, and we kind of went in the master class, but it's still stuff that we didn't get to. Okay. All right. All right, so let's go back here. Right. The conclusion to the story, this is kind of like a little summary. Remember, we was talking about calcification, the vitamin D, how MGP neutralizes BMP, blah, 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 the vitamin K, right? Okay, good. I know y'all all ordered y'all books, so y'all going to have that. Okay, boom. What we didn't talk about is this. And we did skip a bunch of stuff. So you get the book, it's going to be a lot more details when you get the book. There's always more information in the book. But just to cross-reference with constipation and heart disease, because this is something, like I said, that's not being discussed. And the problem is, on the surface level, ignorance of how our body works is a problem, period. But we do have this issue. Constipation with the butt play, respectfully. Those two things is oil and water. And for some reason in our society, whether it's you at home or not, somebody in your house, your neighbor, your job, your cousin, your uncle, your sister, auntie, your dad, your mama. Listen, we don't know what people's into. What people's into is a lot going on right now. What that guy with? So we have to address these issues. All right, now you have the American College of Cardiology Foundation and the American Heart Association, right? The American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association, they kind of works together. And then you have the New York Heart Association, and they have their own classification, right? But doctors pretty much are trained to learn both the systems, right? They're trained to learn both the systems. So you have both the systems, or basically a quick reference to both the systems. And obviously, we compare and contrast to the Kemetic system, but you need to know it all, right? You need to have it all. So with the American College of Cardiology, they run off of a ABCD system of how they classify heart health, right? A is at high risk for heart failure, but you don't show any symptoms. So nothing's wrong with your heart, the shape of your heart, the physical, the physical heart is fine. You don't have any symptoms, but based on your genetics, based on your lifestyle, based on your mama, your daddy, your grandfolks and their grandmama and them, the NIM is usually where we get in trouble. Grandmama NIM, grandmama NIM, right? The NIM is where we get in trouble. But yeah. Then B, structural heart disease, but without signs or symptoms of heart failure. Now, most people, unless you got a little wealth, this part don't even apply to you. That don't apply to you. Unless your family is wealthy, you don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about that. If your family is not wealthy, you don't know about the shape of your heart, because we don't get that checked. We're not, we ain't got that kind of time and that kind of money to be going to get organs individually checked out. Like, we're barely getting ourselves overall checkups. We're definitely not going to get, how's my brain health doing? Let's schedule something next month. I think I want to come in and have you guys do a full workup, maybe a little CAT scan. I just want to see what my brain's looking like. Let's just take a look. We're not doing that. We're not. Hey, you know what? I went on a wild binge, and I don't know, tequila, some tequilas, some champagne. I don't know how my liver's doing right now. So let's just go ahead and run a few panels. Let's do a full workup on my liver, see what my liver's doing, and we don't live in that world. We're not getting individual organs checked out, right? You have to wrestle, especially Black folks and Spanish. Listen, you have to wrestle to get folks to go to the emergency room when they pull. Blood is coming down the side of their. Listen. They need stitches right now. Listen, blood is pouring down the side of their face. They got paper towel. They got paper towel on it. Like, look, go on and give me that peroxide and give me some of that Vaseline. I think I just scratched myself. I just scratched myself, really. It's just a little light scratch. So we ain't there, right? But we should be, right? These are the aspects. These are the things that we miss out on. These are the things that make it into the statistics that they don't elaborate on when they talk about socio-economic causes of having a shorter lifespan, right? They don't really elaborate. And because we don't know any better, we guess and go, oh, socio-economic means we're not eating as healthy a food, right? We're eating, beef from the supermarket as opposed to beef from the butcher. And that's also correct, but there's just other stuff to it. It's different when you have, unlimited carte blanche access to, a staff of doctors that's, looking at your body, and you're still with your holistic, naturopathic, but you have a team of folks. So you know exactly what changes need to be made and when, and you can predict challenges 10, 15, 20 years out. So whereas insurance companies use your health against you, they know when your death date is before you do, right? You actually get that information 20, 30 years in advance, and you can start counteracting that stuff. And, so that's what B is. So B is when there are abnormal, the shape of the heart, the physical integrity of the heart is out of shape, but it hasn't begun to affect your health yet. right? So it could be the valves, right? It could be the valves, right? Something as small as not enough zinc can affect the valves of your heart, right? And the valves of the heart will then turn around and affect how much blood goes in or out, of the ventricles or the atria, right? And so that'll change the whole dynamic, or just a bunch of small little things that you don't look, you don't know. Yeah, you don't look, you don't know. Yeah. You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
EnQi prayer number 2. We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath, and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the fine olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the Djed pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter closes. We give thanks for the magnetism of the most holy, The magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light, 60,000 miles every 60 seconds, throughout our vessels and our caves. Amen.
Let's get that off of there. Okay. Yeah. Get that heart rate going a little bit. All right. So structural heart disease, right? That's where the structure of the heart is literally out of shape, but you don't have any signs or symptoms yet, right? Then C, you have structural heart disease, and then you have also symptoms to go along with that, right? You have symptoms to go along with that. And then D is when you're really in trouble. D is when you're really in trouble because now you have heart failure. Now you have heart failure, right? Now, this is the American College of Cardiology, just to bring it back, and the American Heart Association. These are their 4 classifications, A, B, C, and D. And then the New York Heart Association has its categorization. And like I said, they work together, right? Doctors learn them all, so you should know them all as well. Classification number 1, no physical activity limitations, right? You can do what you want and you feel fine. You have no problems, no pain, no fatigue, no extra nothing. You good. You just doing your thing, right? Ordinary physical activity does not cause symptoms of heart failure. Category 2, slight limitation of physical activity, right? You're comfortable at rest, but any little bit of physical activity, you automatically feel discomfort in the chest or just tired overall. Unusually tired, right? Unusually tired. So notice how these things go together. Because remember, we was talking about chronic fatigue syndrome, right? Chronic fatigue syndrome. What's another? Fibromyalgia, right? For us, you know, if you're not in a culture where you're constantly dealing with doctors, you just feel like, oh, I'm out of shape. I'm out of shape. But you possibly ignoring that you're in advanced stages going into heart failure. What you've been bred and raised to believe as just out of shape is not like, oh, I'm just out of shape. It's literally out of shape. I'm going to show you that in a second. It's literally out of shape. Your heart is out of shape. See, this go all the way back again to Freemasonry, right? Geometry is very important. The geometry of the thing determines how energy moves in and around and through a thing. The shape of a thing determines how energy moves in it, around it, on it, and through it. If the shape changes, the way the energy interacts with it changes as well. That may be beneficial for you, but in most cases, when it comes to your body, when it comes to organs, especially with your heart, it is not. And once again, these are some of the early things that were written in the Ebers Papyrus that was used to ridicule. Like, you see what they're saying? The heart is pointing in the wrong direction. Like, this is foolishness. That's not real medical science. Now, cutting edge, Western, cutting edge, modern. I'm gonna show you. Right. So mark limitation, classification number 3, mark limitation of physical activity. Again, you're comfortable at rest, but any little movement, causes you to need to sit down. And then obviously, classification number 4 is where you have either had heart failure already and you've already on medication or surgery or whatever the case may be, or it's imminent and you can't really move around. You have serious limitations on what you can do physically, right? Which is another reason why it's dangerous to be watching bodybuilders on YouTube as your standard for health. These guys is bench pressing 400 pounds every day. You going to work, coming home, you got that midsection looking crazy. You ain't exercised in 2, 3, 4 years. You ain't been to the doctor in God knows how long. You can't just turn on YouTube and then all of a sudden you might hurt something. You might pop something, strain something, sprain something. At best, right? Worst case scenario, you be to grab that heart, especially if you ain't pooping. I mean, I'm just saying. We got to add that part in, right? So now that we went through A, B, C, and D separately, we go back and you look and see how they're integrated, right? So functional classification number 1 links with A, B, and C of the American College of Cardiology classifications, right? And then functional, I know I'm sliding this too fast for y'all to read. Don't worry, when you get your book, go to Amazon right now and put volume 2. I know some of y'all got the Ebers Papers volume 1. Go get volume 2. Put it in your cart, check out. Like, EnQi, you messing with the screen too much. We can't read that like that. Okay, well, that's why you're going to get your own copy. Right? Now, in the Ebers Papers, right? If we go to rubrics, 855K, 855L, and 855U, it says the heart angle is wrong, generating heat and loss of appetite. Right? The heart angle is wrong, generating heat and loss of appetite. Right? This is right out of these rubrics. Remember, these rubrics come from the Ebers Papers. So it's 3 things. The angle of the heart, right? Causing heat and loss of appetite. All right, so we're gonna hold that there for a second. Right? Structural heart disease always has alterations in the heart angle, just as the Kemetic scientists pointed out. Now, if I said the golden angle or phi, right? Y'all know how to go on the internet. The moment you mix in some golden ratio in the health universe, immediately it gets crazy, right? So, you know me, right? To circumvent any foolishness, you know, we do two things. A, we go right to the scientific journals, right? We go right to the scientific journals, right? We go right to the scientific journals, and then beyond going just to the scientific journals, right? You know, let me see if we can get this on the screen for you, right? You know, we go ahead and just get you to work. We go ahead and get you to work. So this right here, the apex of your heart right there, where this is pointing has everything to do with how healthy your heart is. Even how old you are, biologically, right? So this is a very real thing that science is just catching up on. That's in the Ebers papers. That was laughed about. That was laughed about, right? So we have the angle of the heart being out of position, generating heat and loss of appetite, right? Generating heat, we're going to talk about that in a second, right? We're going to talk about how the ventricles fill, stretch, the electrical activity of the heart, how heat is generated or inflammation, and then how extreme levels of fatigue cause the body to lose appetite, right? So when you don't have the energy, right? When you don't have the energy, the ability to move, what's happening? The muscle cells, because your skeletal muscle is not working, you're not processing, metabolizing sugar. You got a lot of sugar, insulin, fat backing up. You're losing appetite. You're losing the willpower to get up. This is why a lot of people have trouble working out. It's because they're in early stages of heart disease. They don't realize that because nobody's telling them. They're just like, yo, go get some protein powder. Go get some protein powder and get a gym membership. You in early stages of heart failure. You're going to need a little bit more than protein powder and a gym membership. I promise you. Right? So, here, let's go back here and we can take a look at some of this documentation a little bit. Right? Abstract. The golden ratio or golden mean of 1.618 is a proportion known since antiquity to be the most aesthetically pleasing and has been used repeatedly in art and architecture. Both the golden ratio and the allied golden angle of 137.5 have been found within the proportions and angles of the human body and plants. In the human heart, we find many applications of the golden ratio and angle. In addition to those previously described, in healthy hearts, vertical and transverse dimensions accord with the golden ratio, irrespective of different absolute dimensions due to ethnicity. In mild heart failure, the ratio of 1.618 was maintained, but in end-stage heart failure, the ratio significantly reduced. Similarly, in healthy ventricles, mitral annulus dimensions accorded with the golden ratio, while dilated cardiomyopathy and mitral regurgitation patients, the ratio had significantly reduced. In healthy patients, both the angles between the mid-luminal axes of the pulmonary trunk and the ascendant aorta continuation and between the outflow tract axis and continuation of the inflow tract axis of the right ventricle approximate to the golden angle. Although in severe pulmonary hypertension, the angle is significantly increased. Hence, the overall cardiac and ventricular dimensions in a normal heart are consistent with the golden ratio and angle representing optimum pump structure and function efficiency, whereas there is significant deviation in the disease state. These findings could have anatomical, functional, and prognostic value as markers of early deviation from normality. Right? Now, look at all of those big words. I promise you, some of y'all understood exactly what I was saying as I was reading it. But if you didn't, it's okay. They didn't say nothing different than what they said in the Ebers papyrus, which is the angle is off, so the heart is generating heat and loss of appetite. Right? Here's another article. A smaller heart aorta angle associates with ascending aortic dilation and increases wall shear stress. Okay, so that first article we just went through, or at least the abstract of it anyway, was talking about the angles specifically of the heart's geometry, right? This second article is talking about the angle from the ventricle leading into the aorta, right? And how that angle has to be perfect. That angle has to be perfect to get the maximum amount of ejection from the heart into the aorta, into circulation, right? The geometry is super important, right? All right, so we don't have to read that whole article. It's in the book. You can go through it, pull it up, do what you want to do with it. The bottom line is the heart is like an upside down pyramid, and its apex, its direction can tell a cardiologist if you're healthy or not, as written in the Ebers papyrus. When you combine the strategies for controlling calcification, like we talked about, right? The BMP, the MGP, all that stuff from the other day, with the program in the goal book. If you do not have the goal book, go to Amazon, get the goal book, put it in your cart, check out, right? This is what happens when you combine those strategies of controlling calcification with the protocols and the program and the 120-day program from the goal book. Improved nitric oxide production, right? Nitric oxide is impeded by calcification. Improved heart geometry and flexibility. We're going to talk about flexibility in just a second. Improved Christ. That's not Christ right there. I know we use that interchangeably, but no. The QRST, your wave functions, right? Improved endothelial cell function, improved peripheral blood flow, reduced heat and inflammation, reduced ventricular arrhythmias, improved countercurrent heat exchange. Okay. Now, the countercurrent heat exchange, we talk about that in the Wasceptor book, right? The Wasceptor book. If you don't have that book, you know what I'm about to say. Go to Amazon, put it in your cart, check out, right? The countercurrent heat exchange system is how your blood stays warm. How your blood stays warm. So what happens is, as the blood moves past each other, arteries and veins, peripheral flow to the interior flow, you have specific places where light is exchanged between the blood so that the cooler blood is warmed by the warmer blood, right? That is going to affect the flow of your blood throughout your body, how well the blood can even communicate and exchange energy with each other, right? Improved overall magnetism, right? Improved overall magnetism. Now we talk about that in the what book is that? What book is that? We talk about the magnetism of the blood. I think that's the Music to My Ears book. I think that's the Music to My Ears book. The Heartbeat, Music to My Ears. I think it's that book, right? Oxygenated blood is diamagnetic, right? Diamagnetic. So think about this. Always keep the magnetism, the magnetic circuit in your mind. Your heart has the strongest magnetic field in your body. Way stronger than the brains, like 50 times stronger than the brains. When blood is oxygenated, it's diamagnetic, meaning it repels away from magnetic fields, right? The way that this is designed perfectly, right? It pushes itself away from a magnetic field. Your heart is magnetic, right? So when blood gets oxygenated, it automatically repels itself from the heart, right? That's diamagnetic. As it loses oxygen, it becomes paramagnetic. Paramagnetic is temporary magnetic attraction. So as it loses oxygen, it's what? Attracted to the heart, right? That's how your blood magnetism is what fuels your blood being able to travel 60,000 miles every 60 seconds, right? So if you don't have that book, the Heartbeat book, Music to My Ears, right? Okay. Lowers B-type natriuretic peptide, okay? Hopefully you don't know what this is, right? Hopefully you don't know what this is, right? Hopefully you never heard of this. If you've heard of this, that means you already had heart issues, or somebody in your family had heart issues and you went to the hospital and they mentioned this to you and you probably didn't know because it was probably part of the like the Charlie Brown teacher. Well, when they measure this number, the B-type natriuretic peptide, right? The higher that number is, the less flexible the heart is, right? And the flexibility of the heart is important. The flexibility of the heart is important because a part of blood shooting out of the ventricle is a snapback effect. It's a snapback effect. So when the ventricle gets full, the muscles that line the wall are stretching. And they stretch open, and then when they snap back, that helps to push that blood through the valve. So some of this stuff should be clicking from you memorizing the prayer. That's why it's important for you to memorize the prayer, because you memorizing all these little steps as the blood is coming in to the atrium, going into the ventricle, going in through the semilunar valves to the lungs, coming back around to the right, to the left side rather. Yeah, came in through the right side. Yeah, coming back into the left side, left ventricle, aorta to the body, right? So as you learn this stuff and then you do your studies now, you like a low grade, you a do-it-yourself cardiologist. You putting this thing together. Yeah, you don't realize how much you're learning, right? Now, troponin levels. I told you that there's a new thing going on, right? Troponin. We talked about troponin a few times. Troponin is a thing, a peptide, a protein that floats around, and typically, so like back in the 80s or 90s or whatever, they only really, most places really still ain't even on it, but typically they measure troponins only for like heart attacks. Yeah, so if you had a heart attack or, arrest or something crazy happened to your heart, your troponin levels would be visible, right? But now, I'm telling y'all now, nobody named it. We got to name it. We got to claim, with the discovery of it. But people are living in a perpetual heart attack. We're living through perpetual heart attacks. So you're having so much stress on you every day that your heart is like secreting troponins. Not enough that it looked like you had a heart attack, but over time, it just, you ain't supposed to be, it's supposed to be none. But it's like we having this perpetual soft heart attack in the background. So this is why them daily push-ups seriously. My heart stopped before. So I know I'm on borrowed time. My heart stopped before my 20s. So all of this is borrowed time for me. My heart stopped in my 20s, not fake. I wasn't like, brother such and such who was snorting cocaine and had no. My heart stopped for real. I had a seizure, and then there's a condition called ictoacetole where you have a seizure, your heart stops. Whoop, everybody heart don't restart. So I didn't play with it. I had 3 children at the time. I came back and realized what happened and got immediately to work. I made 7 babies immediately. Oh! Who knows? I might not have had 10 children if that incident didn't happen. Right? I wasn't playing. I was like, oh, wow, I could be out of here tomorrow. I could just be feeling regular. I could just be having a regular day and then heart stop. Like, that's crazy. No symptoms, no warning sign, no nothing. Just heart stop. Zoop. I was like, all right. You had that lip with the tongue. You have to bite your lip like, all right. That's how I was thinking. What is it? Huh?
Who's ready, Dad?
This dude coming over with the deep voice. Yo, give me 10 minutes. Man, coming with the deep voice. Okay, so let's jump to some of these. I gotta, they on me now. Okay, so ejection fraction. Ejection fraction. Actually, we can shut it down. We can shut it down here. We don't got to go too crazy with all of the with the math and all that because yeah. We can shut it down right here. We don't got to go into the math. You know why? Because we already talked about this, right? We talked about the fixed equation, right? And the crazy thing is, I think we're in a new space with it. We're in a new space with it because normally the fixed equation is for athletes. Normally, the only people that use the fixed equation to talk about health is, like doctors of athletes, personal trainers, because the fixed equation is primarily just VO2 max, right? We're taking the fixed equation and applying it to diabetes and now heart disease, congestive heart failure and some of these other things, because once you start talking about stroke volume or ejection fraction, which is basically different measures for how well the heart is pumping blood out of the ventricles, right? Or total cardiac output, which is a measure of like how much total blood your heart is able to pump in a minute, right? All of those things are based on your lungs, right? All of those things are based on, not, I won't say your lungs, but your lungs and your heart together, and then the silent machine behind them, right? The silent machine is what? Your diaphragm, your lats, your intercostals, right? All of those different muscles that's inside your core that you don't really think about, right? We just call them, you know, for argument's sake, respiratory muscles, but we go through them in the Clean Abs Fascia book, in the piezoelectrochemistry book, right? The piezoelectrochemistry book, right? We go through them in more detail because those are the most important muscles, right? Those are the muscles of respiration, right? And when we don't exercise, we don't breathe hard. If we don't breathe hard, we don't really get to stress those muscles and keep them in shape, especially the fast twitch muscles, which your body relies on. So, yeah, that was Chase trying to come over here with the deep Barry White, like, like he got the Barry White. But yeah, I definitely appreciate that. Yep. We 100 books. We 100 books strong. Now I'm trying to figure it out because we got to sell some more books. Yo, folks is getting rich off of one book. We got 100 books and we still trying to figure it out. God gonna bless us. Our time is coming.